Hello, and welcome back to Monday through Sunday, the podcast dedicated to helping you build the career and relationships you dream of and a life you don't need a weekend to escape from. My name is Logan Lockhart, and I'm your host. And today we are going to talk all about how to actually land your dream job. That's right. Whether you are just starting out in your career or you find yourself stuck in a corporate rut, today's episode is going to be your step-by-step guide for identifying your next opportunity, communicating with future employers, crushing your interviews, and ultimately securing that dream job offer. And while it's been a minute since I personally have navigated the job market, I remember it like it was yesterday. From securing my dream job right out of college and then ultimately paving my own path here at Boston Brands, I cannot emphasize enough how each new job brings about a unique and valuable opportunity to advance yourself in your career. And so if you find yourself in a toxic work environment or in an industry that you're just not passionate about, stop trying to fit a square peg in a round hole and realize when it's time to make a transition, take a leap of faith, and go seek a new job and a new opportunity in order to continue advancing in your career, polishing your professional skills, and expanding your network. As a millennial, I feel like it used to be so beat into me that switching jobs was a bad thing. And if you had all these different roles on your resume, it was a sign of failure or flightiness on your part, and that no employer wanted to see a long job history with short tenures on your resume. I can tell you personally that that is not the case. After making several different jumps from job to job or company to company throughout my career, I can honestly tell you that the times that I learned the most professionally and grew the most personally were those times where I took a leap of faith and left the comfort and safety of the known to pursue the possibility of the unknown. Not only are you exposed to different companies and industries and work styles, when you transition to a new job, it's a really unique opportunity to start with a blank slate. That includes your reputation and what your coworkers do and do not know about you. That includes your work styles and your boundaries. Like, for example, are you someone who's willing to work late, or are you someone who has proper boundaries that people know not to cross? And that also includes your financial compensation, because think about it. Your future employer has no way of knowing what you were making at your previous job unless you tell them. So if you're someone who feels like you are overqualified and underpaid for what you do, changing jobs is really a unique opportunity to wipe the slate clean and ask for what you deserve. So for all of these reasons and more, I want to emphasize that if you are considering a career shift, the power is in your hands. In the same way you would never stick around in a toxic relationship with a boyfriend who cheats on you and disrespects you, you should never have misplaced loyalty to an employer who does not recognize your value or a job that you've simply outgrown. So today, I'm going to give you my step-by-step process for navigating comms with a potential employer from first outreach to official acceptance so that you can land your next dream job. Plus, I'm going to give you my exact email scripts to help you sound professional and polite during the job interview process without losing your entire personality. As an employer, I see so many emails and resumes that come across my inbox, and the number one turnoff for me is someone who sounds like a robot. Like, you can tell that they did no research on my company and sent this canned email to 12 employers. There's no personalization in the subject line or in the body copy of the email, and overall they just come across as boring and plain vanilla, which me personally, vanilla happens to be my favorite flavor of ice cream. But in a sea of sundaes, you want to be the birthday cake. You want to bring some razzle dazzle and some showmanship to the table when you were reaching out to a potential employer. Because after all, corporate America really is a bit of a song and dance. You have to know how to play the game to win the race. And in the process of that, a little creativity and individuality goes a long way. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome to Monday through Sunday. I'm Logan.
I'm Sanam.
And I'm Lane. We're best friends, the founders of Blossom Brands, and the hosts of this podcast.
We can't wait to take you behind the scenes of running a 7-figure agency with our best friends.
We're sharing our mistakes, our lessons learned, and giving you tactical advice to build the career, the business, and the relationships you dream of, and a life you don't need a weekend to escape from.
So let's get balanced and let's get down to business. Welcome to the show.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about here is why it's so important to like what you do for a living. Obviously, this episode is titled How to Land Your Dream Job. So, at a minimum, I want you to like what you do, but ideally, I want you to love what you do. I really want you to have that dream job. I don't think that finding your dream job is limited to the artists and entrepreneurs of the world. And the reason I think this is because your satisfaction at work ultimately plays a huge role in your overall happiness with your life. Like, think about it. As an adult, you're going to spend the majority of your waking hours working. And so if you hate your job, you're gonna hate your life. On the flip side, if you like or even love your job, think about the impact that's going to have on your overall happiness strictly as a function of how you're spending the hours of your day. So if you are asleep for 8 hours, you work for 8 hours, and you have 8 hours of personal time, not including weekends, you are spending roughly a third of your life working. And if your job sucks the life out of you, frankly, your life is gonna suck. That is why I personally believe that what you do for a living is so much more than just a paycheck, and it is worth a little bit of extra effort to find out what you're good at in order to make a living and make a life. That right there is the Monday through Sunday mindset in a nutshell. It is my personal mission and manifesto to make sure that you, yes, you, live a life that you truly love, not just on the weekends, but every single day, Monday through Sunday, because I truly believe that is the secret to happiness. So if you're someone listening right now and you are stuck in a job that you freaking hate, first of all, I feel you, I've been there, and it gets better. But second of all, don't just accept your fate. Take action, forge a new path, and I promise your future self will thank you for it. So the first step in finding a job that you love is figuring out what you're good at. And no, I'm not talking about this from a corporate lens, like you are good at sending emails or you are a really good project manager. I'm sure you are all of those things, but I want you to take a step back and peel the corporate lens off of that question and look back into your childhood and teenage years and reflect on the things that you used to do just for fun. Were you someone who loved to write and kept a diary religiously? Like, can we take a moment to remember those password journals from Limited 2? So fun. Were you someone who was really into sports and loved being on a team? Were you someone who was team captain on your soccer or cheer team and you loved being part of a group and leading the charge? Whatever it is for you, I want you to go back and reflect on what your natural talents and gifts were before they were ever correlated to a job title. I want you to make a list, write down all of those things, regardless of how silly or illogical they may seem, and then look at your list and circle any recurring themes. This is a great way to identify what your next big opportunity could be if you have no idea what you want to do. And on the flip side, if you're someone like me who felt like I was in the right job, just in the wrong place, in the next step, we're going to talk about how to get you there. So once you've identified what you're good at, what you want to do, and what is going to bring you both joy in your heart and dollars in your bank account, the next thing I want you to do is make a list of your dream companies where you could employ those skills. So to give you a little backstory on me personally, I was someone who ended up in my exact perfect job and industry, but after a couple years, I was just ready for a new opportunity. I knew I wanted to stay in marketing. I knew I wanted to stay in fashion and beauty and brand building, but I didn't know where I wanted to go next. So for me, what I did is I took to Instagram and I made a list of all of the brands that I followed and all the companies that I truly admired. And then I went over to their LinkedIn to see what kind of jobs they were currently hiring for. For me personally, I think I gathered the most inspiration from people who I already knew that had jobs that I thought were cool. And at the time, I was really into influencer marketing. So I did some research into brands that were hiring influencer marketing managers or agencies who were hiring talent managers to work directly with the influencers themselves. I ultimately found this one agency who represented a lot of influencers that I personally knew and followed. And from there, I kind of had my sights set on going to work for them. So once you figured out what you want to do and who you want to do it for, the next step in the process is actually reaching out to them, which can be a really daunting and scary task because let's be honest, first impressions are everything. So when you're first reaching out to a potential employer, it's so important that you strike the right balance of professionalism and personality. In one singular email, you need to introduce yourself to this person, express your knowledge and interest of their company, and explain why you would be a great fit for the job. Sounds like no small task. I have personally agonized over the exact right way to say all of these things. And so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of exactly what to do, what not to do, and an example script of exactly how to send your elevator pitch to a potential employer. And in my notes for this episode, I titled this section, Perfect Your Elevator Pitch and Then Add Proof. because that's exactly what we're going to do. It's so important that you not only say the right things, but also have the data to back it up to help your email stand out from the sea of others that a potential employer or a recruiter is sifting through on a daily basis. So first, I'm going to tell you what not to do. Do not by any means send a canned, boring old email with absolutely no personalization or personality. When we're hiring for Blossom Brands, I get so many of these that I truthfully don't even bother to read because it is just so blatantly obvious that a person sending an email like this has no real interest in my company and is kind of just casting a line and seeing who they can reel in. Like, no, if I'm going to spend my time responding to you or interviewing you, I want to see that you spent time up front getting to know me and my company and have an expressed interest in the particular role. The second thing you are not going to do is you are not going to send this overly designed resume that you plucked straight off a Canva template and pasted in your info. This might be old school of me, but I really want to see a very professional resume. I don't want to be bombarded with all these weird fonts and colors and design elements. I want, in black and white, what you've accomplished and why you are fit for the role. All that other stuff is just a distraction, and it makes me kind of wonder what you're trying to hide or overcompensate for. Your skills should be able to speak for themselves, and while I'm not opposed to adding some light design elements like a pop of color or a polished font pairing, at the end of the day, a resume that has too much flair and not enough substance just comes across juvenile and unprofessional. Okay, so moving on to what you are going to do. In addition to attaching your polished and professional resume, you are also going to attach sample projects or other proof of work that you've done that aligns with the job description. And I think this piece is actually more impactful than your resume itself because frankly, if I cared about your job history, I could get all the information I needed from your LinkedIn. A sample project, however, is an exact indication of your work quality and what you bring to the table in terms of skills. So for example, when I was applying to an influencer marketing position, I attached a past example of my branded content work, which was actually a publisher partnership that I executed on behalf of my client DKNY and the magazine Who What Wear. And because this was an influencer marketing agency whose entire job description was to secure brand deals for their influencer clients, by attaching that proof, I demonstrated I already had the exact capabilities they were looking for in a talent manager. And I'll quickly caveat here that especially if you're looking to make a big transition to a different industry or job title, you may not always have the perfect example that exactly matches the job description. However, I do think attaching some sort of proof of your work quality is so paramount. So whether you attach a deck that really showcases your copywriting abilities or presentation style, or you attach your portfolio that showcases your photography or graphic design skills, whatever sort of proof you can provide up front as to the kind of employee you're gonna be, I promise will put you leaps and bounds ahead of people who are sending a canned email with absolutely no proof of what they can do. Okay, so those are all the things I want you to keep in mind when you are perfecting your elevator pitch. So now I'm going to read you an exact email that I have personally sent to a potential employer so you can take it, use it as a script, and send the perfect elevator pitch. And for privacy purposes, I'm going to change the names of the hiring manager and the company and pretend like it's Blossom Brands. So in this scenario, let's imagine that Eleanor, our podcast editor, is the hiring manager at Blossom Brands, and I, Logan, am applying for a job there. The script reads as follows. Subject line: Blossom Brands X Logan Lockhart, Marketing Manager. Hi, Eleanor. How are you? Hope you are doing well today. My name is Logan Lockhart, and I am interested in the marketing manager role at Blossom Brands. I saw the job posting on the company's IG page and am already acquainted with a few of your team members. So I thought I would reach out and say hello. I have several years' experience leading marketing strategy for brands such as NARS Cosmetics and DKNY. I have attached my resume for reference, and you can find a sample of my branded content work here. Insert link. I would love to set up a phone call to discuss the opportunity at Blossom Brands. I'd be interested to learn more about your company's goals and how you envision the marketing manager role contributing to those goals in 2024 and beyond. Are you available to chat sometime next week? Please let me know, and I would be happy to send an invite. Best, Logan. So that is an exact email script I have used to land a job in the past that I think includes a few good things. Ladies, brace yourself for a skincare revelation. Revive has just launched their brand new brightening serum, and it is a total game changer. In the world of skincare, vitamin C is historically a tricky ingredient. Don't get me wrong, its brightening benefits and antioxidant properties are the gold standard. but it's difficult to stabilize, which is why you'll often find it alongside ingredients like ferulic acid, packaged in a dark tinted bottle, and with a fairly high price point. Revive has changed all of that. Powered by a new type of vitamin C, THD ascorbate, Revive's brightening serum is proven to penetrate the skin 50 times more effectively than the best vitamin C serums on the market. Revive is the only brand to pair the active with their patented biorenewal peptide, which focuses on plumping, regenerating, and hydrating the skin. So not only does it brighten, but it renews as well, which is why this product is clinically proven to visibly reduce fine lines, wrinkles, dark spots, and even out your skin tone in just 4 weeks. Plus, it's proven to immediately brighten the skin for an instant glow. It's not magic, it's science. Are you ready for a better way to brighten? Of course you are. Head to ReviveSkincare.com now and be one of the first to experience this groundbreaking serum. While you're there, use code Monday20 for an exclusive 20% off your purchase, including the brightening serum. Achieve your most radiant skin yet with Revive. First, the subject line is clear and direct, and it immediately positions my name with not only the company's name, but the job title I am seeking. I literally called myself Logan Lockhart Marketing Manager, which not only makes it clear which role I am interested in, but it also makes me seem immediately qualified. Second, the body of my email details how I found the job, why I'm interested in the particular company, and what work I've done in the past that could support their goals. Lastly, the email ends with a strong call to action. I directly ask if they are available for a call next week and offer to send the invite. This leaves zero room for ambiguity on what the next steps would look like, what my availability is, and shows I'm willing to take the initiative to set the meeting and handle the scheduling details. And not to mention, I attached my resume and sample projects, which is important for all the reasons we already talked about. So for all of those reasons and more, I think this is a great elevator pitch, and I invite you to take it and make it your own. Okay, so you've sent your elevator pitch, and let's say you received a reply and have scheduled your initial interview. Now I'm going to walk you through a few things you need to do to prepare to keep up the positive momentum and make a good first impression. The first being do your research. For every interview you have, it's so important not to go in blind, especially for the jobs that you're really interested in. You need to find out everything you can about the company beforehand so that you can demonstrate your knowledge and genuine interest during the interview. A few ways you can go about doing this. First, find out everything you can about the company's background. That includes the industry that they're in, the clients they serve, the size of the business, the locations, any recent awards that they've won, or press mentions they've had, or any cultural tidbits that speak to the way they operate. In order to find all these things, you can check out their website, their Instagram, sign up for their newsletter if they have one. Use any and all resources to find out everything you can about them. The next thing you're going to do is download the job description and add red lines for how your experiences match up with every single qualification. You can do this in a Google Doc or by printing it out and marking it up with a red pen. I want you to think about the job description as the keys to the kingdom or the answer sheet on a test. A job description is an employer literally telling you every single thing that they are going to look for in a potential employee. So if you can print that puppy out and regurgitate back to them every single way that you fit what they're looking for, you will leave that prospective employer or hiring manager with no doubt in their mind that you are capable of fulfilling the role. I have actually done this at 2 different points in my career when I was making a job description, and the person interviewing me noticed I had done this and was really taken back at the amount of time and energy I had put into preparation for the interview. I remember when I was interviewing for my first job, and the hiring manager literally saw that I was looking through my notes, and he actually asked me to hand them to him from across the table. And I had done exactly this. I had printed out the job description and in red detailed every single way that my experience lined up with the qualifications. And I would honestly say he was equally amused and impressed that anyone would put so much time into prepping for an interview. However, I did end up getting the job. So while I looked like a tryhard, I must have done something right. Another section I want you to prepare in your notes are why me and why this company. I think in the job interview process, so many people focus on selling themselves or the why me part that they forget to say why they are even interested in the company and the role. And while yes, to an extent, you do want to sell an employer on you as a person, what you really want to sell them on is your passion and your interest for their company, because they're not hiring you for you. They're hiring you for what you can do for them. And by making that a focus during the preparation and the dialogue of an initial interview, you are really going to stand out amongst a sea of other candidates that are only talking about me, me, me. Another thing I want you to prepare for and put in your notes is your closing statement and final thoughts. If they only remember one thing about you, what should it be? During the course of an interview, you're going to talk about so many topics about yourself and the role and how you could be a good fit. And once the clock starts winding down, you want to have a killer closing statement to round out the conversation and make sure that if this hiring manager only remembers one thing about you, what do you want it to be? And as we all know, when we're nervous, words are hard. So having this prepped in advance can be a real lifesaver. And one last tip I'll give you on the initial interview, when you've reached the point where the interviewer asks you if you have any questions, for the love of all that is holy, please ask a question. I cannot tell you how many times I have interviewed someone, have wrapped things up, and asked if they had any questions, and the candidate just stares at me blankly or says, no, not really. And I don't know if this is just me, but I personally take that as a huge red flag and a sign of disinterest, because if you were interviewing for your dream job, you would probably have a question or two. So to me, when somebody doesn't ask a question, it makes me feel like I'm just one of the many people they've spoken to and that they're not that interested in the company or the role. So on that note, I'm going to do you a favor and give you the one and only question you need to ask at the end of an initial job interview. Are you ready? Okay, here it is. What are the company's biggest goals right now, and how do you envision the insert job title role contributing to those goals in 2024 and beyond? This one question is your mic drop, and unless you have any other real questions, is the only one that you need to wow your interviewer and end things on a high note. Within this one question, you are demonstrating a lot of higher level thinking. You're not asking about what the perfect employee would look like or what would happen in a typical day. You are asking what the company as a whole wants to achieve this year and beyond. This not only shows that you are a big picture thinker, but you also have foresight to think ahead into the future. And by asking how your job title could contribute to those goals, you are demonstrating accountability and an active interest in what is needed to help move the company forward. I think this is an excellent question, not only because I wrote it, but also because it's so much bigger than the job itself. It really shows that you are here to be a part of a team and part of a movement, and that you can think ahead to what's really important. Okay, so congratulations. You have nailed the job interview. You have wowed them with your closing statement and final question, and now it's time to follow up. First things first, whatever you do, do not forget to say thank you. And my rule of thumb is you should always send a thank you note the same day. This is an immediate representation of your timeliness and punctuality, and again, will help you stand out in a sea of candidates. I personally get so bummed when I interview a seemingly rock star candidate who fails to follow up, because it really makes me question either their interest in the role or their ability to follow through as an employee. So when it's time to send your thank you note, here's what you're going to say. Hi, Eleanor. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. I sincerely enjoyed learning more about the marketing manager role and hearing about all the exciting projects you have going on at Blossom Brands. Your approach to insert topic or project here resonates with me deeply, and I look forward to the possibility of adding value. Please let me know if there's anything else you need from my side. I am looking forward to our next steps. Best, Logan. So there you have it. That is a quick and easy thank you note script that is genuine, personalized, and proactive because you're already talking about next steps. And that is the note that you are going to send the same day of your interview or the next day at the very latest. After that comes the fun part, the follow-ups and the waiting game, which the first thing that I want to remind you of here is that people are busy. And if it takes a few follow-ups for you to hear back, don't take it personally. If a company is hiring, that probably means that they're short on staff and already doing their best to get it all done. So please, whatever you do, don't let it hurt your confidence, because if you do take it personally and let it harm your confidence, you're going to behave all weird when you do get the second interview, and it's going to hurt your chances of getting the job. So on that note, if you've had an interview and haven't heard back yet, a common question could be, how many times and how often should I follow up? Like I said, the first email you're going to send post-interview is your thank you note the same day. After that, I would suggest that you respond to all subsequent communication within 24 hours. This helps keep the conversation moving and continues to express your sincere interest. On the flip side, if you sent your thank you note and haven't heard back, I would say you can send your first follow-up 2 days later. After that, if you still don't hear back, send another follow-up 3 days later, then 1 week later, and so on. So for example, if your interview was on a Monday, you're going to send your thank you note on that same Monday. And then if you don't hear back, your first follow-up is going to be that Wednesday. And if you still don't hear back, your second follow-up is going to be 3 days later, the following Monday. And if you still don't hear back, your third and final follow-up will be the Monday after that. If after the third follow-up you still haven't heard back, I would honestly say don't keep wasting your time. This is likely a good indication that priorities have shifted within the company and they may no longer be hiring for that role, or the position has already been filled. 2 more things I want to mention in terms of follow-ups. If you do secure a second and third round interview, the thank you note rule still applies. Please be sure to send a thank you to every single person who interviews you that same day. You want to show the same level of professionalism and courtesy to your second and third round interviewers as you did to the first. And one final thing I want to mention on follow-ups, which is relevant to anyone who is interviewing for a manager or director or other higher level role. If you have to do and send a project as part of the interview process, I would recommend sending this as a shared link from Google Drive. While I think projects are a great tool within the interview process, specifically for the interviewer, because they can really give a unique insight into the candidate's skills and abilities. As the interviewee, sometimes projects can get you into trouble because you've put all this time and energy into a personalized project for this company that isn't paying you yet. So if you're in a situation where you send a project and then either get rejected or don't hear back, by sending your project via Google Drive, you can easily revoke the access and protect your work if the company has decided to go in a different direction. Because while I know you want to land this job, we also don't work for free around here. Okay, moving on to the final stage of landing your dream job, and that is accepting the offer. Congratulations, you have done it. You have followed all these tips. You have wowed your potential employer, and they have offered you the job of your dreams with a generous salary to boot. Once you've received your offer letter, this marks the official beginning of your relationship and your employment with this company. So you want to make sure that you respond in a way that is gracious and enthusiastic, but also maintains the same level of professionalism so that you can keep your employer as excited about you as you are about them. So here's what you're going to say. Hi, Eleanor. Hope you are doing well today. It is great to hear from you. Thank you so much for the kind words. I am absolutely thrilled to receive this offer and am very much interested in joining the Blossom Brands team. It is very clear to me that the role at your company and the spirit of your team is strongly aligned with what I envision for the next step in my career. I am so energized by this opportunity and I'm looking forward to making things official as soon as possible. That said, upon review of the offer letter, I do have a few questions I would like to align on. I've included those as red lines in the document attached. Kindly review and let me know your thoughts. All the best, Logan. So this little acceptance speech does a few things. First of all, it is gracious and enthusiastic. I make it extremely clear that I am thrilled to be joining the team and eager to get things started as soon as possible. However, you'll notice that I'm not just blindly accepting the offer. I am also including thoughtful questions about the details outlined in the offer letter and employee contract if applicable. This is your opportunity to negotiate your salary, your PTO, your responsibilities in a way that is respectful and honestly impressive. You are demonstrating from the get-go that you have strong attention to detail and you are not afraid to speak up for what you want. This is a topic for another episode, but I would always recommend that you negotiate your salary because, like I mentioned, getting a new job is a unique opportunity to negotiate a pay raise, and feeling excited about what you're going to be earning in a new role is a huge determinant of your continued happiness and success. Okay, so now that we've talked about how to handle the good news, I would be remiss not to mention how to handle a scenario in which you receive bad news. I think my first and most important piece of advice here is to take a beat and give yourself some grace. When you receive bad news or didn't get the job you wanted, the last thing you want to do is respond emotionally. So while throughout the prior steps of the process, I want you to reply within 24 hours and as soon as possible. If you just got rejected from a job you really wanted, it's okay to give yourself time and space to process. And while it's still important to respond in a timely manner, in this instance, I would stretch that window from 24 hours to 48 to make sure that you're not responding too soon in a way that would negatively impact your ability to respond graciously and professionally. Another thing I would mention if you just got rejected from your dream job is understand the difference between a no and a not right now. Instead of just reading the no and throwing in the towel, actually take the time to digest any context or reasoning that they've given you and see if there's a way to salvage the situation. This happened to me one time personally because I was applying for a job that I was frankly overqualified for. And the hiring manager saw that and she sent me an email basically saying that the job I was applying for was not compensated at the range that I was expecting. And so in that instance, she thought it would be better to turn me down and keep me in mind for future opportunities. And that is a perfect example of the difference between a no and a not right now, because in the context of the email, she was telling me that she liked me and she thought I was a perfect fit, but the role itself just wasn't the right fit for me. And in that particular scenario, I was so interested in the company that I was willing to work my way up from a lower level job just to get my foot in the door. So in order to salvage that situation and ultimately land the job, here's what I said. Again, I'll use Eleanor's name as an example. Hi, Eleanor. Really appreciate your transparency here. Would you be able to provide a little further context into the target salary for this role? I completely understand your position and was afraid that might be the case. Nevertheless, I would really love to make this work as I personally felt that everything else was a perfect fit. Please do let me know. Best, Logan. So obviously this script would need to be customized to whatever scenario you're facing, whether you were told you were underqualified, were asking for too high of a salary, or some other situation. However, this is a really great example of a short and sweet email that expresses your continued interest and offers a solution to making it work. On the flip side, if there's no way to salvage it, but you still want to keep the door open for future opportunities, you can modify the script accordingly. But my number one recommendation for dealing with rejection is to always lead with kindness and remember that the corporate world is a small one. You never want to burn bridges because you just never know when an opportunity could come back around. Okay, there you have it. That is my exact breakdown on how to land your dream job, including the exact email scripts I've used to do it myself. I hope this episode helped you, and if you have any questions, my DMs are always open.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Monday through Sunday. If you're building a career, a business, or any relationships, we know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us.
With that in mind, we would be so grateful if you can spare 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast. Your reviews help spread the message to more people that work doesn't have to suck.
By the way, if you're looking for your community, join us on Instagram and TikTok at Monday through Sunday Pod. We're all about connecting our like-minded listeners together. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about by sending us a DM. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you again, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.